morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take on this Tuesday morning. And yes, I missed you yesterday. Had too much going on, a little bit of travel, and it just didn't work timing wise. But let's go all the way back to Friday and how we closed out the week with a really strong finish. And that I think is very important because we finished with incredible volume, 42 million contracts trading last Friday. We had the Dow moving up a couple of hundred points. We have the NASDAQ moving up a couple of hundred points. And then we move into Monday. And as we come out of a monstrous end to the week, we looked at Monday and a little bit of pressure on the markets, at least when you look over at the Dow, down about 125 points. It was up early, it sold off, but the NASDAQ, a little bit different. It had a nice start to the day after being in the red very early, but then just started to accelerate and power to the upside. Finished up about 60 points or thereabout, near the highs of the day, about 67 points actually. But the story of the day yesterday really was biotech. And when I say biotech, there's one name that really stood out. That was Biogen. And obviously you heard the story time and time again throughout the day yesterday for all the right reasons. Alzheimer's has been one of those drugs for a very long time that the companies that have been trying to develop these drugs and unfortunately somewhere along the line would fail, those stocks would get punished. And this had happened even in the past to a stock like Biogen. But Biogen having an absolute monstrous reaction yesterday. So kudos to them for all the hard work and all of what they have done. And we'll see over time exactly how things play out. And there's a lot of great analysts out there who see Biogen trading a little bit higher than it was yesterday. But let's also look back in time a little bit. This is a stock that's had to deal with some ups and downs. There's no doubt about it. Trades with a great valuation when you consider the biotech side of it, but needed a little bit of something. And they got a little bit of something yesterday with the move to the upside. I'd say a lot of something when you're looking at the size of that market cap on a stock that actually jumped over 40+% on the highs. Really, really impressive. Great to see that. That actually sort of rolled over into Lilly. And then take a look at Moderna. We had a really nice biotech or health area that really was the powerful part of the markets yesterday. Crude, holding around that 69 level. But you take a look over at Bitcoin, we've been talking a lot about this, the ups and the downs and sort of the constricted movement. We're starting to see sort of a pretty substantial pullback, I would call it. So if you look back to last Friday, Bitcoin was trading around 39,000. Yesterday, we were trading somewhere close to 34, 35,000. Today, we're actually down a little bit and trading around 33,000. So gives you a little bit of an idea of what's really been going on. And now we're starting to see a more aggressive movement coming out of Bitcoin after we'd had aggressiveness and those ups and downs in very volatile markets. But that sort of calmed for a while. Looks like we might be erasing that calm and bringing back some of that volatility. We'll see how that all plays out. So solid finish to the day. I talked about the NASDAQ and the nice move to the upside. It was names like Tesla and Google and Facebook and Microsoft, all those types of names really contributing yesterday. So a nice broad, and the meme names. Once again, we talk about these all the time. We talk about this. I've talked about the way it's been so tactically looked at and attacked by many of the folks that are out there. If you want to call it the Reddit crowd, I think it's a much bigger group than just the Reddit crowd. But that being said, those specific names that people correlate to that whole thing, wow, another impressive day. And AMC, again, when we look at the contracts trading, it's really been pretty extraordinary. Another day, well, about 1.5 million contracts. So we're continuing to see this trend where we're seeing volume, we're seeing the short interest, we're seeing all of these various factors. In some cases, very inexpensive options because of the dollar amount of where many of these names are trading at. In any case, we are continuing to see this movement, if you want to call it that. And it certainly is something that I continue to say, you better embrace it because this movement has been here since January and could continue to be here for a lot longer. So if you don't want to embrace it and you want to miss it, that's your choice. It's just a matter of, I'll tell you what, and that's why the educational thing that we talk about each and every day, we talk about volumes, we talk about all those types of things in the derivatives markets. That's why it's so important. And I do hear the constant quote about Warren Buffett, and I just want to address this for 1 minute. Now, he talked about derivatives as a source of mass destruction for markets, right? This is back in about 2002. Well, the really interesting thing is there's a big twist to that. So that statement may have been said, But was it followed by the man himself for what they do? And the answer is absolutely not. They are derivatives traders like you have never seen before, both puts, both calls, all kinds of different options and different other areas of the derivative markets as well. So preferreds and that type of thing. Just be aware that those statements that were made also by somebody who has continued to be very, very active in this world of the derivatives markets. That's why you need to know more about it. That's why you should need to get educated. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, including Market Rebellion. So today, we start off the day, we look a little bit, the Dow not looking like it's doing much of anything. S&P, everybody's been talking about the chase towards the new highs, all of that. It's all true. It's all very, very impressive. But the NASDAQ is really what's been impressive because that consistency of that movement to the upside. We talked about last Friday, a couple hundred points to the upside. Talking about yesterday, about 67 points to the upside. Today, in the pre-market, we were up about 85 points. Then it slipped a little bit, 65, 70 points. Last I looked, we were trading up about 50 points there, but we were really starting to feel a little bit of a slide when we're looking over at the Dow itself. And it was sliding back down. It was down about 90 points the last I looked. I'm going to take a real quick peek just to see if there's any kind of changes. So down about 64 on the Dow and up about 34 now on the NASDAQ. So slipping a little bit on the NASDAQ, but lifting a little bit off of some of those lows that we were just seeing for the Dow. So the big story of the day, as I just mentioned a minute ago, Bitcoin, because the pressure has been on, the movement has been there, and it's become a much more volatile market. We look over at crude, still holding somewhere near 69. The last I looked, it had slid just under that 69 level. And again, let's just address this one last time for today. AMC was up about 15% yesterday. As I mentioned, it had some great volume. And as a matter of fact, the stock volume, again, just extraordinary. I think it was about 350 million shares trading yesterday, added about 5%. It was up in the pre-market along with Clove, along with almost every one of those names that we've been referring to as the quote unquote meme stocks. But I think the reality is we are seeing this movement, and this movement is catching, and we are seeing a lot of activity that is moving many of these names to the upside and of course to the downside. We talk about this when we talk about energy all the time. And those beta names in the energy space, it doesn't just mean to the upside. It also does come in to play to the downside as well. We talk about the VIX all the time, the volatility index. It's sort of been really not only in a very tight range, but somewhere very close to call it 16.5. And it just continues to be kind of hovering right around there. Sure, goes a little bit lower, and yes, it goes a little bit higher, but we've been holding, it seems like, the last couple of trading sessions right in that 16.5 sort of an area. So we've got consumer discretionary, that was strong early, along with technology, that was strong early. A little bit of that was why we were seeing that push to the NASDAQ. But the weakness in the financials certainly did stand out fairly early. It was down about 0.5% on the financials. Last I looked, they were down about 1%. That was when the market was really starting to slide a little bit closer to those triple digits. But last night, Marvell. Now, this is one of those names. This is a name, if you followed me at all on the Fast Money the Fast Money show, this was a pitch stock for me. It's also a stock that I've owned for a pretty substantial period of time. I'm a believer. I think they've done some great roll-ups, some great acquisitions, and I think this is a company that's in the right place, right time. Their earnings last night seemed to show a lot of that thought. It seems to be playing out. That's exactly what we're seeing. That stock was up about 6% the last I looked. Was trading around $51 a share or thereabouts. It was starting to pull back just a little bit as we were seeing the market pull back just a little bit, but a really, really strong performance on those earnings. So 2 unusuals and I'm out of here. So, and then I'll see you tomorrow. But we do have the cash flow portfolio as well. And I'll be doing locally the WCCO radio program at just about the top of the hour as well. So looking forward to that with Corey Heppola, a great host, does an unbelievable job over at WCCO. So LOTZ, LOTZ, that's the first one of the unusuals. Now, this is car lots. So really interesting. Car dealers and the stock trading right around 6:30 at the time. Pretty substantial buyer. We had 7,000 of the June 10 calls. What I like about this fits into what I was just mentioning about very affordable, inexpensive options in many cases, not as much anymore in the AMCs. Implied volatilities are through the roof. But when we're talking about $6 and $7 and $8 stocks and $12 stocks, that type of thing, those premiums, although they might have some definite premium in them, they are inexpensive in terms of just dollar amount. So in this case, they are paying 10 cents all the way up to about 35 cents for these June 10 calls and lots. Secondly, I've got Rocket. Now, we've had this on many occasions in the past. Some have worked, some have not. But RKT, Rocket Mortgage, you guys know the company. Stock was trading around 2060, right around that level. We had a buyer of 10,000 of the June 21 calls. So basically buying right on top of it, right at the money, as we would call it. These are just out of the money, but they're very, very close. And those were going for about 70 cents up to about $1. So interesting to see that. That's a pretty decent sized trade. I think it was actually about 10,500 of those calls were trading. And we are seeing an acceleration now, just starting to pick up as we get a little bit deeper into the first hour of the day. And it's going to be a really, really interesting day. I know it's hot everywhere. Get that AC on if you've got the opportunity. Jump in the water if you got to do that, but stay healthy. Folks, have a great day of trading.